Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the 10-minute Bible lesson. We appreciate you joining us today. Well, listen, we've got a new Bible character that we're going to be looking at, and that person's the name of Joseph. We're going to be looking at Joseph. We had quite a few lessons on Jacob. We had quite a few on Abraham. Now we're over to Joseph, and I've noticed something about these Bible characters. All of them had difficulties, and they had trials, and they had troubles. And I just think that's worth noting, because these people we think of in the Bible as just being, really God's people. And then we find out that, yes, they were God's people, but even though they trusted in the Lord, and even though they believed in the Lord, it didn't keep them from having difficulties and trials. Now, God may not have sent those trials, but one thing that He did do, He used those trials and troubles in their life to mold them and shape them into the person that God wanted them to be. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like difficulties. I'm thinking you don't either. I don't like troubles and trials. But you know what? If we can understand this, that if we will be true and we will be faithful to the Lord, that He will bring us through every one of those, and that He will have a purpose in those, and when we're through, there'll be something good come out of them. And so I just think that's really interesting to think about, that just because you're living for the Lord, that you're not going to have trials and difficulties. Listen, you're going to have those. Well, let's go ahead and jump into Genesis chapter 37, and we're going to be reading verse 2. It says this. It says, "This is the history of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father." Now listen, this is not going to turn out really well for Joseph. You have to give him a little bit of a break, because he's just 17 years old, right? So we understand at 17 you can do a lot of things that probably you shouldn't do. So I could just say this, that life is hard enough without bringing more troubles upon yourself. Now, it took me a long time to understand that. It seems like I had to wait till I got older before I realized that troubles just come, and they can come without us helping them to come. And so I think that we can actually divert some of the troubles by using good wisdom. And I don't know that Joseph was really using good wisdom. Let's go ahead and read verse 3 from Genesis chapter 37. It says this. Now listen to this. This even adds to Joseph's trouble. "Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. Also he made him a tunic of many colors." As I mentioned, life is, it's hard. I think it's hard for siblings to get along. I mean, it's just kind of a natural thing that we kind of like fuss and fight. And when a parent loves or favors one child over another, there's going to be resentment and jealousy. There's going to be resentment and jealousy toward the child that parent shows favors to. And Jacob, what did Jacob do? Jacob made Joseph a colorful outer garment. And not only that, but he did that because he favored Joseph. And his brothers, they didn't like it. I can just picture those brothers saying to one another, Did you get a fancy coat? I didn't get a fancy coat. How about you? Did you, Levi? Did you, Simeon? Did you, Reuben? Did you, Judah? No, we didn't get a fancy coat. Who did? Oh, only Joseph got it. Listen, they hated that coat. Those brothers hated that coat, and I'm pretty sure that that they didn't like that. And I was just thinking about Joseph getting that coat. When he got it, he probably thought, wow, this is so cool to get this coat. It's the coolest coat. But you know something? It didn't make his life better at all. It actually made his life worse. Well, let's go ahead and read verse 4 of chapter 37. Listen to this. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Well, that's true. They couldn't help but notice that their father, listen, they loved their father, and they wanted their father to love them. So when they saw their father, in whom they loved one of the other brothers more than they, then no doubt they didn't like that. They hated it. And in fact, they hated Joseph. And it says they couldn't speak peaceably to him. And what does that mean? Just think about this. Now, this is a big group. There's 11 of these brothers. And you know, Joseph, every time he went up to talk to one of the brothers, they couldn't speak peaceably to him. In other words, they were smart and hateful to him. Every time, just think about what that would be like. And I just wanted to say this, on top of all of this simmering hostility, because this is like something that's just boiling and simmering. And on top of it all, Joseph starts having these dreams. Now let's look at it, and that would be in verses 6 and 7 of Genesis 37. So he said to them, listen, please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were, Joseph says. He's talking about himself and his brothers. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Okay, everything's so good so far. Then, behold, Joseph says to him, my sheaf arose up and stood upright. and indeed, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. Oh, my lands. I just wondered, did Joseph know what these dreams meant? I'm kind of thinking that he didn't. I'm not sure about it. I don't really know. And I was wondering, did he understand that these dreams were from God? You know, these dreams were a foretelling of what was to come. But I'm not sure that Joseph understood all that. I just know that he must have thought these things are significant. And he wanted to tell his brothers. And so it didn't matter to his brothers. It just made them not like him all the more. So let's look at our last verse. That'll be verse 8 of Genesis 37. And his brothers said to him, listen, shall you indeed reign over us? Listen, they understood what the dream meant. Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Oh, wow. It's tough being a favorite son. I can just tell you that. Not that I've ever been a favorite son, but just looking at this, I don't think I would have wanted to be. Well, it's interesting to me. You can almost see and feel the resentment and the hatred growing in Joseph's brothers, and something is going to happen. And you know what? We're going to have to wait till next time to see what happens, what his brothers do to him. So please tune in next time. But until then, I hope that you have a great week, and thank you for joining me.